Hey everybody, Jake from Umbrella IT Services here. So today I'm super excited to announce our guest, Ira Thomson from North Shore Digital. Ira is a Google AdWords expert. He's got over 10 years of experience in the industry working with local businesses, developing data-driven strategies for their business that leverage Google's AdWords technology to create engaging and impactful campaigns for their businesses. This interview was super informative. Ira breaks down a ton of strategies for us. So without any further ado, let's jump into it. And I'd like to give Ira Thomson from North Shore Digital a big thank you for coming on today and talking with us about Google Ads, getting started with a Google Ads strategy, refining your Google Ads strategy, and some tools that you can use while you're starting Google Ads. So Ira, thank you very much for coming on today. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into this industry?
For sure, yeah, and thanks so much for having me on, Jake. It's been a little bit of a random road getting here. So I've always been interested in entrepreneurship and business, and kind of had a couple little businesses going when I was in high school, and then moved to Vancouver, got a degree in economics, did a bit of traveling after that, and I started up a business doing surf and brewery tours. And that's when I really kind of started getting to marketing and pay-per-click marketing and SEO, because we built a website and really kind of wanted to do a bit of lead generation for the business. And so that was kind of my intro to kind of PPC marketing and then Google Ads specifically. And after that, I went and worked for a marketing research firm and did marketing after that for software as a service business, and got more and more into kind of the data analytics and more kind of advanced Google Ads, and kind of spanned across into Google Analytics, Google Tag Manager, and eventually Google Data Studio. So kind of had that whole Google ecosphere and learned a bit of that, and took a couple graduate courses in kind of geo data analysis and analytics as well, and was really kind of nerding out in that sense. And just recently joined up with Andrew at North Shore Digital, who does kind of the SEO side of that, and I kind of took over for the Google Ads portion of that, and that was about a year and a half ago, and have been working independently with North Shore Digital ever since.
That's awesome. So yeah, we had Andrew on a couple weeks ago, and he was just so informative, and he was saying you're the Google Ad guru. So I'm very excited to speak with you today about all this kind of stuff. So as a layman myself and as a small business owner, I'm not overly familiar with exactly what Google Ads is. I understand I give them money, I'm able to target people, I'm able to pick specific topics and keywords, I can get my clients or my potential customers to see my advertisements. You've mentioned a couple of things already now, like Google Analytics, but do you mind breaking down what exactly is Google Ads, and what are some of the subcategories and other tools that are related to Google Ads and how they can help business owners?
Totally, yeah. So Google Ads is basically paid search marketing, and you can do PPC marketing, or pay-per-click marketing is probably what business owners are, the term that they're more familiar with. But for Google Ads specifically, if you typed in a search query, so say for you it'd be for maybe managed service provider, you were looking for a managed service provider, you type that into the Google search engine, you'll get paid listings and then organic listings. And the paid listings are basically what Google Ads is placing out there through a real-time bidding system. So the kind of genius of Google Ads is you're able to show your advertising for your product or service to a person who's in the right kind of mindset, who's searching specifically for what you're offering, and you can get even more granular with the targeting and target specific audiences and do retargeting and all sorts of neat things. So at the base, that's it. It's just putting your ad, paying for your ad to put it on the search engine. And now there's all sorts of those other kind of tools that I linked in that kind of go along with that. And so Google Analytics can give you more depth to, once a person clicks on your ad and goes to your website, what do they actually do? Are they going to call you or email you, or do they just see your website, think it sucks, and then leave? So all those kind of online actions are really important to business owners, and it's probably the biggest downfalling of business owners we see with that are running their own Google Ads accounts, is that they're they're running a Google Ads account in a silo, and they're not thinking about, what ads or keywords or targeting our audiences are leading to actual conversions and leads on their website, and even certain behaviors, so micro behaviors on their website. Did they watch a video or download a brochure or stay for a certain amount of time? So that's where those other tools can kind of fit in with Google Ads, which is quite neat and pretty vital for business owners that want to track leads from start to finish.
Gotcha. So you mentioned a couple of mistakes there, like people won't be paying attention to things like where people are moving on the website, what they're downloading, following up with folks. What are some other common mistakes you see people making when they're trying to get started on their own?
Yeah, so I'd say the biggest one, and it's something that we're doing more and more, is trying to translate their actual business goals, the value that they're trying to generate from Google Ads, into specific inputs for the Google Ads platform, and then measuring that success. So to give you an example, people will start running a Google Ads campaigns and put ads up there, and they're not importing conversion and lead events into the platform. And then on top of that, they're not measuring the success of the campaign through a lead generation lens, where that might be their main kind of business goal. And so when I look at accounts before I start with any client, I always do an analysis of have they done a proper configuration. And I'd say probably 90% of the time, people are either they haven't correctly integrated those conversions, or they aren't measuring that success correctly, or they don't even there's a bit of a gap between their business objective or even marketing campaign objective and what they're actually doing in the system. So Google Ads has amazing, and they keep on improving this every year. So their machine learning and AI is top notch, and they can serve the perfect ad to the right person that directs to your specific landing page. They're really accurate at looking at so many data points and data signals, and increasing conversion rates and lowering cost per lead for your business. But if you're not translating your business objective with the right input to the machine, then it's kind of a garbage in, garbage out scenario. So I'd say that's probably the number one thing, is just translating your business objectives correctly, and then integrating and configuring that so your website, Google Analytics, and Google Ads accounts are all linked. Secondary to that, I would say people utilizing all the advanced targeting options available in Google Ads. So things like remarketing audiences, affinity audiences, in-market segments. Google has just an insane amount of data, and they segment people up with detailed demographics. So are they, say you had a toy sales company, you would probably find that you had 3 or 4 times the conversion rate with a parent who has kids ages 2 to 6 than with just the general population. But that's not a default option in Google Ads. You have to kind of know where that audience is and then target them specifically, or observe several audiences and then later on target the ones that are converting at the highest rate. So a lot of people don't know that these targeting options are available to them, and they can just kind of blow their conversion rates through the roof. So I would say that configuration and the targeting are kind of the 2 biggest areas to begin a campaign.
That's really interesting. So it really lets you go as detailed as, I want to target single mothers with kids that are 2 to 6 years old. Are you able to throw that into the system?
Yeah, I mean, it's they have hundreds of audience segments and data points, and what they've done that's quite clever is they've created a bunch of subcategories and then subcategories to those categories. So you might have a category for an in-market segment, which means people are actively researching something. A broad category might be vehicles, a subcategory that might be trucks, and then a subcategory might be electric trucks. So say you're an electrician that specializes in installing electric vehicle stations. That electric truck audience, even though it's small, you're going to get amazing conversion rates with it. And even on a more general sense, you might want to target just electric vehicles and see how those both convert, and then go with the one that's converting at the highest rate and getting you the best kind of cost per lead and ultimately ROI for your campaign.
That's awesome. So, as a business owner, you should really be writing down your audience. You should be figuring out what's going on, what your target is, and then any sort of correlating industries or interests related to whatever product or service that you're selling. Then,
Totally, yeah, it's what Google Ads is amazing at is your ability to test, headlines, descriptions, value propositions, benefit statements, ad extensions, audiences, just a plethora of tons of different data points for really, really cheap, and then going with the best one. And so if you come to the platform or come to us with kind of a broad thing of, I don't really know if parents of toddlers ages 1 to 5 or 5 to 10 are going to convert higher for our toy sales. We'll test both of those, and then we'll test different demographic segments and different kind of affinity audiences and in-market segments, and observe them, see what works the best, and then apply it and test it some more and get even more niche. So it's a very iterative process.
yeah, that sounds right to me because, like you said, you're going to be able to hit a broad scope, kind of like a shotgun. And then as the time develops, you'll be able to see, okay, we're getting a 40% conversion rate with this subgroup. Let's hit that and then figure out what derivatives exist of that subgroup and then just continue to tunnel down. That's fascinating. So let's say that you're a small business owner, you don't know too much about Google Ads, and you really want to get started on the right foot and you want to avoid the common issues that we just covered. What would you recommend from start to finish a business owner can do either on their own or before preparing to meet with somebody like yourself in order to set up their Google ad campaign in the most productive, efficient way possible? I know you've mentioned metrics already and a couple of other things. Do you want to cover that for us?
Yeah, I mean, it's quite a detailed, lengthy process of configuring and setting up everything properly. But I would say there's kind of three base or three kind of root things you want to do. The first, as I mentioned before, is just translating your business objectives into conversion events, measuring those conversion events through a tool like Google Analytics, and then importing those events and testing them with Google Ads. So instead of trying to optimize your Google Ads campaign and figuring out, which keywords and audiences and all of your targeting lead to the best, kind of the most number of clicks or impressions or even click-through rate, you're testing for actual leads. And so these leads would be things like, people clicking on the phone number to phone me, or clicking on the email, or filling out an inquiry form, or leads like that. So configuring that properly would kind of be the first thing that you'd want to do in your account before you even began a campaign. The second thing I think would be keywords are at the heart of the search engine. So making sure you do proper keyword research and set proper keyword match types so that you're not wasting money on irrelevant searches. And it's a mistake. A lot of people just kind of load up a major list of keywords, and 95% of them are either producing irrelevant terms or they're not producing any results because either the search volume is too low, the cost per click is too high, or they're just totally irrelevant to the ad and the landing page that they're showing. So there's a free planner within the Google Ads platform called Keyword Research Tool or Keyword Research Planner. And you can go in there and you can pop in all your keywords or even just your website, and you can look at all those volumes and costs and kind of build out a keyword list to brainstorm from there. And there's a bunch of other tools like SEMrush and Moz are great for keyword research as well. So do your research and figure out what kind of base keywords you're going to use. And then the final component is just the targeting. So like you had mentioned before, make a big list of all the audiences. So by demographic, by interest, by what they might be researching in your industry as well. And then look at where you can target those. So set your targeting for other things outside of that. So you can set targeting by location and demographics and device as well. So if you're selling an app or a software device for mobile, you'll want to shut off the desktop and perhaps tablet targeting and just focus on mobile. So make sure your targeting is correct. And say I'd probably add another thing in there that's kind of outside the scope of Google Ads is just make sure your website and landing pages match the advertising that you're doing. Google has a metric that they use for kind of measuring your bids in Google Ads called quality score. And the higher your quality score, the less you'll pay to rank higher. So it affects something called your ad rank. And the more relevant your website is to the keyword, to the ad. So typing in a keyword like children's toys, going to an ad that mentions children's toys in the ad, and then going to a landing page that talks about children's toys, be a very kind of relevant funnel. The more relevant that is, the higher your quality score will be. So making sure your website's dialed in as well is important.
Gotcha. That's very, very good to know. Thank you so much for covering that stuff. You did mention researching keywords here. And again, this is something that I've kind of looked into a little bit myself. What are we looking for exactly when we're looking at keywords? Are we looking for high volume of searches? Am I looking for something that people in my area are looking for? Like, what is it if you were trying to find something again for, let's use myself as an example. You already said managed services provider. So if we're going to do a search for managed services providers and I wanted to have a campaign on G Suite migrations or ransomware recovery or whatever, what kind of keywords would I be looking for? Is it things that are directly related to the service, or am I looking for something like IT management? If people are talking about IT guys, what would I be wanting to find there? Is it something that people are looking for and I kind of want to redirect their attention, or am I looking for something with the highest volume of searches? This is something that has always been kind of confusing to me.
Yeah, well, I think a common mistake that advertisers and businesses make is they go with their intuition on how people might search for their service. And unfortunately, a lot of the time, you're so in your own head about your own service or business, you've been dealing with it for so long that you use a lot of kind of high tech speak. So you'll speak about maybe managed service providers, but somebody that's looking for that might be searching for IT support or something totally different than the keyword you thought. So the first thing to do is kind of put yourself in the customer's shoes of how they might search for your service. And from different segments. So for a large corporation versus a smaller business searching for IT services, and then think about, you want it to be as relevant as possible to your business. So your business might have a unique value proposition if they only work with local medium-sized businesses that have 50 to 500 employees. So you might want to add managed service provider in Coquitlam, and you might find that managed service provider in Coquitlam converts at twice the rate of just managed service provider with Coquitlam-based targeting. So it's a matter of kind of brainstorming, then putting it in the system and seeing if there's enough volume for the keyword, and then actually running the campaign and analyzing the keyword data to see what converts, going with more iterations of those keywords, and what doesn't convert, pausing or removing those keywords. So that's a process that we do called keyword pruning. Gradually, that's going to increase your conversion rate slowly over time, and you're kind of building your Google Ads asset. So you might start with you're paying $100 or $200 or $1,000 for a lead or for a converted lead, and you're just working to make sure you're keeping the highest converting keywords and getting rid of the lowest converting. So it's a process of you're taking your best guess with research and using the Google Keyword Planner and other tools. You're going a little bit with your intuition on maybe how people are going to search for your business, and then you're kind of overlapping that with is there enough search volume in my area? And then you're testing and iterating on that as your campaign progresses.
Gotcha. So if I type in managed services provider, is Google going to kind of relay that I should be searching IT support, or is this something where I need to brainstorm and say, here's a list of all the services I provide, here's a list of all of the different different just terminology for what I do, here's something that I think if I ask my mom what she would call what I do, and just get a bunch of different things like that, just throw them against the wall? Is that the name of the game? And then, like you said, then you can begin doing the keyword pruning, or is there a more precise way to get started with keywords?
Yeah, I mean, so what Google will do is if somebody types in managed service provider, that's a search term. So that's a search query that somebody's put into the search engine. And then that search query is going to trigger your ad to show depending on the match type of your keyword and the keyword that you've used. So there's 4 different match types that you can use in Google Ads. starting with kind of broad match type. So if you used managed service provider as a broad match keyword, somebody might type in managed IT support in Vancouver help, or some kind of version of a long tail keyword. And since you've used a broad match, Google kind of sees that as, oh, that's broadly relevant to the keyword that you've used, and your ad will come up. And then you kind of go with stricter and stricter match types down to something called exact match. So if you put in managed service provider as exact match, and somebody typed in managed service provider Vancouver, your ad wouldn't show. So I don't typically like starting a campaign with broad match or exact match. I'll use something called broad match modifier, phrase match in between, which kind of tells the search engine different things about the keyword to kind of trigger your ad depending on the search. And so you're kind of right about the brainstorming, like I alluded to before. It's, figuring out your best guess as to how people are searching for your product or service, and then creating as relevant a funnel as possible with using keyword match types.
Yeah. Gotcha. And the next phase that you mentioned would be the analytical side of this. So what kind of tools does Google give us to analyze what's going on here? I'm assuming it's going to be a lot more precise than me just looking it up and saying, okay, I got a bounce rate of 50% of people going to my website. So let's say I've got all my keywords picked out. I'm noticing that what I'm doing is working. I'm getting a high amount of volume. My website's getting a decent amount of traffic. What would be the next step there for me to start using Google Analytics? And are there any other tools that I can use to make sure that the strategies that I'm using are working? So I know you mentioned something earlier, like I use Hotjar to analyze where people's movements are like on the website. So moving on to the next phase here, what type of strategies and tools does Google Analytics offer us? And what would you use to make sure that we're getting the most out of our Google ads?
Yeah, so Google Ads itself, the platform, has ways that you can analyze the effectiveness of your campaigns just in that platform. And again, kind of the most vital is what you've determined to be the key action that you want people to take because of the campaign. And so that key action is generally related to kind of sales or revenue, and lead generation as well. So somebody who's a qualified customer reaching out to you with an email or filling out an inquiry form or clicking on a phone call button. And so the first thing you want to do is ensure that you have those tagged properly. And you can do that in a bunch of different ways. Google Tag Manager is a good start for people who aren't coders and want to just kind of go through their website and tag different events. So it kind of has a console that you can open up, and you can click on a button on your website, and it'll kind of show you different attributes of that click. You can import those to Google Analytics and set up what are called Google Analytics goals. And then when you go into your Google Analytics account, you can kind of look at all your marketing channels. So organic search is a marketing channel that's automatically kind of set up in Analytics. Google Ads, you can just sync your Google Ads campaign with your Google Analytics account. And then you can see other things like even offline or traditional kind of magazine or newspaper marketing, referral traffic. So if you got anything from another website that came in and took an action. So you can look at all your marketing channels and then look at all that goals that they're triggering. And you can figure out which channel has kind of the best ROI for what you invested. So that's a fantastic start. One extra step that you have to take there is just importing those analytics goals that you've set up into your Google Ads account, so that you can utilize kind of their machine learning to bid based on conversions. So you're trying to optimize the account to get the most number of conversions or the most lead value or the most revenue for the least cost. So that's kind of the final step that you want to take for that conversion configuration. So that's where I would start, from that kind of high level of, what business objectives are you trying to create from the campaign, and how do those look on your website?
Gotcha. And then I know you mentioned earlier as well that you would like to be able to do things like upgrading your quality score So what would be some things that we could do on our websites to improve that and further reduce the cost per click of these ads? So if, let's say my website needed a bit of a tune-up, what type of content and what type of stuff could I add to it to improve my quality score with Google?
Yeah, so it's really a function of how transparent your business information is on your website, how relevant the text and information is to your ad and to the keyword or the search query that the person used, and how simple it is and easy to use. So how's the UX on your site? Is it really easy to navigate? If somebody searched for I want to get my bicycle fixed, is that going to go to a landing page that has a direct link to book a time to fix your bicycle, or does it just go to the homepage that contains some generic information about bicycle sales? So making sure your page is really relevant to your ad, or vice versa, is usually easier. Making sure your ad is relevant to the page that you already have, it is going to up your quality score. And your ad rank, so where your ad will rank in the search engine, is a function of that quality score and what bid you pay as well. So making sure your quality score is high due to relevance of the keyword to add to website is a free way to lower your costs and raise your ROI for any campaign.
Gotcha. And due to COVID-19 and all these other things that are going on right now, have you noticed an increase and a benefit for your clients that are doing the online marketing, or have things kind of toned down a little bit as the market's been kind of unstable right now?
Yeah, that's a great question. It was really interesting, kind of when it first happened and when the shutdown first happened, looking at what was happening in Google Ads. And what I kind of noticed in general is it got way less competitive as people pulled money out of campaigns on Google Ads. And what that led to was, people weren't converting at quite as high rates, but the cost per click fell dramatically. And so the cost you're paying per lead is just a function of your cost per click and the conversion rate. So conversion rates barely fell and cost per click really fell. And so what we found were clients who were investing money in Google Ads kind of around mid-March to end of April. We're seeing amazing conversion rates because all the competition got out of the market, and they were able to pay way less, sometimes half price for cost per click.
Wow.
After everybody started to notice that, then of course it kind of balanced out again. So it's a real-time bidding competitive market. So cost per click went up to about what it was. And now what I'm noticing is competition's going up even a little higher, because there's a cultural shift towards online shopping. So a lot of people were frantically trying to bring their brick and mortar online when their storefront got shut down, and people were quarantined at home and ordering lots of stuff online for the first time. So it's a lot of new people into the market, and so now there's been kind of this cultural shift, and it's gotten competitive, but a lot of kind of new people who are experiencing Google Ads for the first time. So it's a really interesting landscape right now from kind of an online point of view.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I'm so excited to talk to you about this stuff, because I know as an IT provider, we have so many people saying, do you do online advertising? Do you do website development, this kind of stuff? And again, I like to stick to what we do best, and I like to be able to refer people to people like yourself, just to make sure that they're getting the best stuff done for the job. So again, really appreciate you coming on and discussing this stuff with us today. So if you've got a Google ad campaign running, things are going really, really well, you've got this high conversion now, cost per click is down, what do you recommend people do to continue to improve those trends? Is it better to focus on a handful of these different Google ads that you're running, or is it better to start ramping up dozens and dozens more and just slowly adding them in one by one? Do you think it's better to just stick to a handful of these things, or to continuously expand your offering and your online advertising the way that you would in the real world?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think that comes down to kind of a business owner decision. Do they have the logistics in place? So we had a client recently who we started a Google Ads campaign 3 months ago, and the following month after we started, he doubled his revenue, and then he doubled again, and he had to shuttered down the Google ad spend for a couple weeks before getting back in again because all his orders were delayed and he just didn't have the logistics in place yet to deal with it. He wasn't expecting that type of volume. So it's I wouldn't recommend just spending up to the point where you're not seeing a positive ROI. There's a lot of different kind of logistical factors involved in that decision making. But there's a ton of stuff you can do to just improve conversion rates for the same ad spend. So you can always be doing keyword pruning and keyword research. You can always be looking at your targeting and improving that. And what I love to do is split testing. So split testing ads and split testing landing pages. And so that might sound complicated, but it's pretty simple. And the most basic way that people can do it and see a great return on their click-through rates and conversion rates is to go into kind of any ad group they have. And each ad group should have about 3 to 6 ads running, and look at all the ads and look at the 2 or 3 top performers. You can look at click-through rates and conversion rates and return on ad spend and different metrics that you're judging on, and keep the high performers, and then pause or turn off the low performers, and then create one more iteration of an ad that's different than your high performers but might have some components of them. And so you're just always improving your conversion rates through just going in, doing an audit, say once a month, getting rid of the low performers and making iterations or new potential high performers. So that's a great way for anybody to just continue to maintain their account. And then if you're a little more advanced, you can do things like pair search campaigns, which is what most people use when they first start with Google Ads, with say a behavioral remarketing campaign. So it's called retargeting in Google Ads. So what that does is, say you have a search campaign that's driving traffic to your website, and it has a pretty high 5% conversion rate or 10% conversion rate. That's great, but that still means that 95 or 90% of people are going to your website. They're interested enough to click on your ad and check out your product or service, but then they're just leaving. So they might have forgotten about you, or they might just not quite be ready to engage with your business yet. So what retargeting does is it builds an audience of these people who have taken an action or interacted with your website in some way, and then makes a list that you can specifically target with specific messaging for them. So you've probably seen these before, and some people do them really well. So they're really subtle. You only see them once or twice. They're really direct with their messaging. And some people do them horribly, where an ad might follow you around a ton of times and kind of creep on you. So you'll see ads on Facebook that, I went to that website, and you see it 100 times. So that's retargeting done poorly, but done correctly, you can get amazing conversion rates from that. So there's a lot of kind of advanced things you can do. As for going back to kind of budget, should people just kind of continue to increase budget? There's always diminishing marginal returns. And Google has a new tool called Google Performance Planner that kind of shows a prediction of what return you will get with incremental changes in your budget. And so what this can do is you can plug in, I want to increase my budget threefold, and you can see if you maintain that same return on ad spend. So say you're getting a 25% return on ad spend, that's a great return. But if you spend another $1,000, that's going to gradually fade away, because there's only so many people that are searching for keywords. There's only so many people that are in your niche audiences that you're targeting. You're eventually going to plateau. So before you just kind of spend more money and figure out where that's going to happen and just hope you don't plateau too soon, you can use Performance Planner, and they have a lot of predictive machine learning tools in there that will kind of show you. And I've used it with a couple clients, and I found it's just great for planning and strategizing and offering advice to clients on what kind of budget they should plan. And it has a seasonality tools as well, so you can look at say your e-commerce around the holidays. It might show for this investment you're going to get a way better ROAS just based on a bunch of data that Google has historically on how people are searching for the keywords that are contained in your account.
Gotcha. So you covered a number of tools there that would be quite valuable, I think, for a lot of people to look into. What other tools do you recommend for people, or any sort of market leaders or places for us to learn about this kind of stuff, to learn about other tools? What do you recommend people can follow, or some people to learn from?
To be honest, there's a lot of information out there. So Probably the first thing I would start with is, if you want to get more advanced, more in depth, is head over to Skillshop. So that's Google, kind of the Google Training Center, and it starts with beginner classes and then goes up to advanced. And you can even get certified in kind of Google Ads and Google Analytics and their marketing, all their marketing kind of studio products. So that's a great place to start. Follow them on Twitter and follow their blog for Google Analytics and Google Ads. The second thing I would recommend is check out some of the thought leaders in Google Ads, and I always do this, and it just kind of shows me what's trending and where it's going. And with kind of all the advances in machine learning and AI, it's great. So I've been reading a book, Digital Marketing in an AI World, and it's written by Frederick Valais, who was the one of the original kind of creators back in the early 2000s of really expanding the Google Ads platform. And he has a company called Optimizer now, and they take advantage of a lot of the machine learning aspects of Google Ads and kind of train and tell business owners, what they can do to really leverage all the tech and that robust kind of Google Ads platform. So that's a great book to read. I really like Avinash Kaushik as well. So he's kind of more on the analytics side. Why measuring conversions is important, and other kind of micro stats in Google Analytics, like bounce rate, you kind of mentioned before, time on site, page depth. So what's important and then what's not important to measure. And so he has an analytics book out as well. I'm not too sure what version it's at now. I kind of read the original and the 2.0 version, but he's great. He also has a blog, great to follow. I like more on the SEO side, but also getting more into PPC marketing and Google Ads is Neil Patel. So he's been around forever, has a great blog on SEO. So if you want to look more holistically at, improve your organic at the same time as improving ads, he's a great one to follow.
Awesome. Thank you for all that info there. And the other question, I have two other questions for you, would be, let's say that I'm already an established company. We've tried going through Google Ads. We've tried different agencies. We tried doing it ourselves, and we're just struggling with it. What do you recommend people do to kind of get a fresh start on it and make sure that they can start from the ground up and kind of revamp their ongoing struggling campaigns?
I would say it's a matter of all agencies and all marketing channels might not necessarily work for your business. So I think the first thing is just getting a handle on what works. So if you're new, I would really encourage people to go out and test different channels.
Yeah.
You might be a very visual company where you're killing it on YouTube, which is part of the Google Ads platform, or you're killing it on Facebook or Instagram ads, which is part of kind of the Facebook platform. So kind of come with a hypothesis, what might work based on your brand, research other competitors, kind of how they advertise, and then try out with smaller budgets or kind of divide your budget up a little bit, and then do what I had said earlier. Make sure you look at your website, track the goals that are important to your business, import those to Google Analytics, and see what's converting. So Google Ads might not be for you. I found it's so successful for us, and we've decided to focus on it just because Google owns 92% of the market share in Canada. So if you're looking for something online, you're precisely looking for that thing, and you're likely doing it through Google. So it's just such an enormous platform, and has so many in-depth tools. So that's why I love it, but it might not be for your company. So the very first thing is just seeing what channels convert and work best for you. And the second thing is really vet the agencies that you work with. I've had the opportunity to meet with people who have amazing agencies, and they're business leaders, and they're really on point and they work really hard. And then other people who just kind of set and forget client campaigns and accounts, and just kind of let them run and then take their kind of monthly fee or whatever they've charged. So one thing to do is just ask, about transparency. Are you able to get into your own Google Ads account? Can you ask questions? How is the agency reporting? are they reporting on leads that happened, or even better, revenue that came from leads, or how those leads converted, so the quality of the lead? Or are they just telling you how many impressions, so how many times your ad showed, or how many clicks you got, or even just click-through rate? So you want to make sure that these agencies are thinking about the bottom line for your business and reporting it authentically. So if you have a down month, they're reporting on the down month, and they're trying to figure out why that happened. You're not going to have a banner month every single month. So agencies should be authentic about that. So it's making sure you find people who are transparent about what they do and how they report.
Gotcha.
And so I would go out, maybe contact 4 or 5 agencies and really figure out and vet each one and if it's a match for your business.
Yeah, that was my next question, actually, was how to vet and how to get started with different agencies, and when is it time to call in a professional and get that kind of info going. You did mention a couple of things there. So do you have anything you would want to add on when it comes to, let's say, again, you've evolved now to the point where your business is so busy and you can no longer focus on this yourself. And I know you mentioned transparency, make sure it's a good cultural fit, make sure that you've done vetting, you've talked to 4 or 5 other people. What are some other things you would look for when you're trying to hire somebody like yourself?
Yeah, so I mean, I think that's a great start. I think it's also considering your time and input as well. So, like you said, if your business is expanding and you're really busy, that's a great time to start thinking about kind of outsourcing different marketing channels, Google Ads being one of those. And then, once you've engaged an agency, look at the return on investment you're getting. So, if you're paying an agency $500 or $1,000 a month, but you're spending $3,000 in ads and getting $6,000 instead of $4,000, you might be paying that agency $500 or $1,000, but you've seen an extra benefit of $2,000, so you've seen a net return of $1,000 to $1,500. So I would look at their results over the first couple months. And I'm a big fan. We don't do any contracts with clients, and I would say try and find an agency that doesn't rope you a new contract, because you don't want to be stuck getting poor results after, say, 2 months, or poor customer service, or a non-transparent agency, or bad reporting, and then you're stuck in a contract or an expensive contract for another 4 months. That's not good for anybody. So I'd say that's another big one. Look at how they're doing contracts and the kind of return that you're getting in the first initial months.
Gotcha. And then that's exactly what my next question was as well. How long do you figure you should give an agency a chance until you realize that they're not doing anything? So let's say you're 7 months in with an agency and they haven't gotten a single lead for you. And they haven't called a single meeting, and they haven't tried to do anything. There's a lot of transparency not going on there. Obviously, that's a dead end. You should get rid of them. But realistically speaking, in your experience, how long does it take from you to go from being introduced to a client to developing a campaign to running campaigns to doing your keyword testing and pruning to actually seeing results for that client and kind of getting into like the flow with them? What does that look like, and what timeline can business owners expect for that?
Totally, yeah. I honestly, it's totally a function of the business. So we work with clients who have, say, e-commerce products that might be $50 to $100, and their focus is both revenue generation and new customer acquisition. Up to clients like yourself that are getting $50,000 or $100,000, huge IT projects, and so it's a matter of that client, that e-commerce client, if they're spending $1,000 on a campaign per month, they should be expecting results pretty quickly. It does take 2 to 3 months to kind of fully optimize a campaign, and then gradual improvements after that with iterations over time. But they're spending enough money that their investment divided by the value of the product they're selling should give you enough conversions to really evaluate versus past performance. Whereas, say, a larger IT company that's spending the same amount of money, say they're spending $1,000, but if they get a conversion, it's worth, say, 20% of $50,000 because that's their margin on that service. They might have to wait 10 months before they get a conversion, and it will still be worth it. They'll still see, a 20% return on investment. So it really depends on the kind of cost of your service and the sales cycle of your service or product, and also the kind of time it takes to optimize based on the data. So you'd get a ton more conversion data from a product that's selling for, say, $70 or $50 or $100 than a product that's selling for $20,000, or even somebody who's trying to sell a house for $1 million. So it really depends on your ad spend and the value of your product as well.
Gotcha. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And do you have anything else that you would want to kind of dive into with us? There's been a couple of little things here and there that you've mentioned that I wouldn't mind learning a little bit more about, just in terms of like the technical language. But are there any topics or anything else you'd want to cover?
Not really personally. I mean, I think it's again, I can't stress the importance of really working with an agency whose business objective first, and translating that to really good inputs for the Google Ads machine. That's really the first thing you kind of want to be thinking about. So taking time to learn how that works, and learn maybe how Google Analytics measures conversion events and leads and revenue on your website. Learning how, if you have an e-commerce site, through Shopify or Wix or WordPress, or WooCommerce, how to integrate that with Google Ads so that you're measuring the revenue and return on investment. So if I had to pitch one thing to business owners out there, it's measure your campaigns for success, and then you'll be able to optimize them for success.
Yeah, like you said earlier, and I do really appreciate that tip, is make sure that you have laid out your metrics for success. Make sure that you're not just having someone coming to you saying, I got 10,000 views on your website today. If you've got a conversion goal rate that you need, or you need a minimum number of leads generated, or if you need to have a contact with a certain amount of people, or you need to have X amount of people sign up for your newsletter every month, I would really define those goals, figure out what's important to your business, figure out what it is that you're paying for, and then relay that to somebody the same way you would with any other sort of technical hire in your business. Like for myself, when we were speaking with Rob Malik a couple of weeks ago, he was explaining sales in a way where it kind of clicked with me that the same way that we've outlined all of our sales procedures and our workflows, all of our technical workflows and procedures, you have to do the same thing when you hire on a salesperson, and sales is just another technical skill. So it seems to me like it's the exact same thing with Google Ads, where it's this whole other world, and it is unfortunate as a business owner that we have to wear so many hats all the time, and because of technology, it's continuously being added to the pile, the amounts of different things we have to learn, but at the end of the day, it's another opportunity to learn something. And I think if people do take the time and they begin listening to people like yourself, Neil Patel, and all these other folks that you mentioned, I think that they will really learn a lot. And myself, I really like the numbers side of things. Like as soon as I'm able to dig into a Google Analytics account and I'm able to kind of see, okay, this is the audience, this is the distribution of people, this is what the bounce rate's like, and then you can kind of play around with it and get into the psychology of why things are happening, or the technical background as to why things are happening. And then you, after, like you said, a couple of months, you're going to be able to kind of have this art/science mastered. I do know that there's a couple of little things related to the psychology of Google Ads. Like my old business coaches taught me that if you put your call to action button as an orange button, it's something like 20 to 30% more likely to convert for some reason. Do you know anything about little things like that, or do you have any tips about little tricks that people can use while they're doing Google Ads or designing their website to kind of up their conversion or increase the efficiency and the ability of their Google Ads to convert?
Yeah, I mean, that's a whole other side of it. So that's the website side, and that's super interesting, that the whole behavioral science side and the user experience, and how you can integrate that with say a Google Ads campaign or another marketing campaign. Again, the great thing about Google Ads is it's a massive testing playground where you can do tests for really cheap. So if you have 3 different calls to action, like you said, one is orange, one is deep blue, and one is maybe the color of your brand and has some text on it, and you have an ad that's performing really well, you can create different landing pages for that ad and see which converts the best. And sometimes you'll see, 2 or 3 or 4 times the conversion rates, and that's an incredible improvement, right? And so you're testing that with Google Ads. It's really improving your Google Ads, but then you can extrapolate to other areas of your business to say, wow, we have this amazing converting landing page that converts really well with this particular audience on Google Ads. Let's publish that, as a live or linked page, and send all our marketing campaigns there because it just converts so well. So user experience and what you're talking about earlier, looking kind of at heat map. So you might take something like a heat map, as to how people are looking or clicking on the web page, and then have a hypothesis to say, okay, people are really clicking and looking at this type of benefit statement and this call to action. Let's test that to see how it actually works, to see how it actually converts. And then just like you iterate on your Google Ads accounts, so you're iterating on ads, keywords, you're doing that split testing, you can do that on your website as well. And so what I would recommend there is just go out and research, like you learned from your business coach, the kind of psychology behind maybe the color of a call to action button. So you can go out and research that, maybe specific even to your industry, and then create a hypothesis and test that against what you currently have and see what converts better. And then you'll kind of have a winner of what converts better, and then down the line you can test that again and see what converts better, and you're gradually optimizing and improving in that way. So it's that whole kind of behavioral economics, behavioral science side of it is super interesting. So that kind of conversion rate optimization side.
Yeah, no doubt. Again, it really is an art mixed with a science at the end of the day. And again, I think it's really important to have somebody like yourself that people can consult with and kind of learn from and that kind of stuff. Do you have anything else you want to deep dive into, or do you want to have anything you want to promote?
Yeah, I think on our side, it's again, we've decided for pay-per-click, for search marketing to focus exclusively on Google Ads. So that's our expertise, and the main service that we offer is just Google Ads management, so managing your campaigns. And that takes kind of all that extra busy work out of trying to figure out Google Tag Manager or analytics and trying to integrate and sync that properly. So we do all of that, and we also give reports and recommendations outside of the scope of Google Ads as well, that you can apply to other areas of your business to say, we really notice this audience is converting really well with this value proposition. Would you consider using this on your website? So I'd love to promote that service, our Google Ads campaign management. So if people want to check us out or contact us and reach out, they can go to northshore.digital. And then we offer 4 services, and Google Ads is one of them. So the other 3 are web design, hosting, and SEO, which integrate with that as well. So we've decided to work on those 4.
That's awesome.
The full paid one. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's you and Andrew Jackson and Ira Thomson and North Shore Digital, located on the North Shore. And yeah, I know I've had a great experience just speaking with both of you guys, and I know some of your clients, and I've heard absolutely fantastic things about what you guys do. The word wizard was thrown around a lot, so I know you guys produce great results for some of the folks that I know that have worked with you. So again, it was really great having you on, Ira. Really appreciate it. And yeah, so I think that does it again for today's interview. So again, thank you to everybody for listening. Thank you very much, Ira, for coming on from North Shore Digital, taking the time to discuss Google Ads for local businesses with us. And we're going to have a link to northshore.digital and other ways for people to get in touch with you and Andrew down in the description. So again, everybody, please make sure to go check those out. And thank you so much again, Ira, for coming on. We'll talk to you very soon. I think we might have to have you come back on and do another deep dive into these topics again for us. So thank you again for coming on today.
Yeah, no problem, Jake. Thanks so much for having me.
We'll talk to you soon. And I think that does it for today's video. If you could please leave a like on this video, it really helps us out. If you want to see more videos like this, then please hit subscribe. If you have a suggestion for a future video or a guest you'd like to see on the show, please leave a comment down below or email us at techtips@umbrellaitservices.ca. Have a great day and see you all soon.